Welcome addicts, welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video we are going to be talking about Cam Newton, the brand new acquired quarterback for the New England Patriots. But of course, why wouldn't the New England Patriots be able to get a former number one overall pick and an NFL MVP for absolutely nothing? Well, what does this mean for fantasy? Let's talk about it. So, in terms of observing Cam Newton, last year doesn't really do much good to even look at because comes into the year and within 2 games is benched for the remainder of the season due to a Liz Frank issue with his foot. And there was already some concern over the shoulder issue that he had missed some time from the previous season, whether or not that had completely healed. So it's been quite some time since we've seen Cam Newton on the field with everything that was going on with the pandemic. I understand why there was some hesitation to sign him, but the last time we saw Cam Newton, let's just use that as our base point, was 2018. We saw him for 14 games, missed 2 games because of that shoulder sprain. Finishes the year with nearly 3,400 passing yards, 24 passing touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 488 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. That was enough for 282.6 fantasy points, and finished with 20.2 fantasy points per game, which put him in the upper echelon of quarterback performers. It did start to taper off towards the end, leading you to believe that perhaps the shoulder was wearing down as the season went on. Again, this is 2018, so I don't want to spend too much time on the stats because at this point they're kind of irrelevant. The real question is really just going to be is how healthy is Cam Newton? Because if Cam Newton is anywhere near his 2018 form, he's going to be the biggest discount that you can possibly receive for a quarterback in 2020. He finished 2018 with a 74.8% completion rating, true completion rating, which is number 5 in the NFL. Had a 75.7% number 1 overall play action completion percentage and a 47.1% pressured completion percentage. His accuracy had gone up over the course of time as he continued to see his carry count go down. He still averaged 7.2 carries per game, which was number 3 in the NFL. I would expect that to drop a good bit with the Patriots, but leave it to Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick to completely revamp their offense to try to replicate the offense that they saw that destroyed them earlier in the season last year with the Ravens. Wouldn't be surprised if they are trying to emulate a similar system with a quarterback like Cam Newton. I don't think they're going to be able to execute it as well because I do think that Cam Newton is definitely a bit behind his prime, just based on the injuries that he sustained, but that doesn't mean that Cam Newton is not a competent quarterback, and if nothing else, he's so much better than Jarrett Stidham. You have no idea how much I was dragging my feet about wanting to talk about the Patriots. I was very thrilled from a fantasy standpoint when the news broke that Cam Newton was going to the Patriots because that meant that we actually can be excited about some of the assets in New England, and I think they're actually going to end up being values. I finished with 6.6 adjusted yards per attempt, so I wasn't lobbing the ball deep down the field too much, and a lot of that had to do with Christian McCaffrey being there. But 7.2 production premium, number 15th in the NFL. But again, all that matters is fantasy points, of which he was producing a lot of. Now, all that being said, you flip from the Carolina Panthers, going from a team that had Christian McCaffrey, Greg Olsen, and Devin Funchess, and I believe that was DJ Moore's rookie year, the last season that we saw Cam Newton. Not a terrible squad by any means, but also not the greatest either. Comes to another similar spot here in New England. We've got an aging Julian Edelman, a underrated N'Keal Harry, I guess you put him in a middling tier. He's a good football player, not necessarily a great fantasy player, in Mohamed Sanu. You've got a crazy quad of running backs with Sony Michel, who was pretty bad last year, James White, who is not Christian McCaffrey by any means, but is still pretty efficient in the passing game. We've got Rex Burkhead, who can't stay healthy but is actually a really good running back, and a complete mystery of Damian Harris, and then a whole slew of tight ends. So the weapons, while more diverse in New England, doesn't have anyone that truly stands out. This is a pretty mediocre group with Cam Newton. But there's enough guys to go around. I think that there will be room for Cam Newton to be able to perform as a quarterback. I do think that N'Keal Harry could become a pretty sneaky value even in redraft leagues. I still like Julian Edelman, even though I think this could probably be his last year in the NFL. He might go out with a swan song, and people forget that last year he was a wide receiver one, so even if he drops his production down a little bit, he could still fall well into the range of a value considering how late he's going right now. James White could also see a boost up in targets. The old standpoint of Cam Newton not throwing to running backs doesn't make sense because he threw a ton to Christian McCaffrey. Again, not comparing James White to Christian McCaffrey, but again, he's pretty efficient in the passing game. All that being said, there's plenty of room for fantasy production for Cam Newton. Projecting him modestly, but projecting him for the full season and projecting that he will be at least close to his 2018 form, if not exactly as such. We have him at 3,400 passing yards, or close to 35, 22 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a slight downgrade to his carries, bringing him to 388 and 5 rushing touchdowns. That would give him enough for 275 fantasy points. Obviously, he has plenty of upside if he comes out and is a complete baller like Cam Newton always has been, or just the fact that Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are great at getting the most out of their players, we could see a lot of upside to this projection as well. But of course, there could be a little bit of a bottoming out if he's not as healthy. So there's plenty of risk with this pick, and that's why he's coming so cheap. But at this point, you haven't really seen him climb up the draft boards by any means, still getting him in the double-digit rounds. And I think it's worth the risk. Cam Newton has been a league winner for the majority of the time that he's been in fantasy football. Last year was the first year that he really didn't do anything for you, and I think people are forgetting how dominant Cam Newton has been in fantasy football because of 2019. So I like Cam Newton this year. Going to end up being one of the better draft day values unless something changes drastically. We get like a workout video of him absolutely destroying it. That might change people's minds. But as it stands right now, he is way cheaper than he should be, and I think that this will be just another guy into the mix that you can grab later on, which gives you all the more reason to punt quarterback later. And in Superflex quarterback leagues, gives you more incentive to wait a little bit longer on quarterbacks so you can still get a guy that has the potential to finish top 8 at the position, even higher. If he's anywhere near his 2018 form, then he's being underdrafted right now. So that's my take on Cam Newton. Hit me up in the comment section with any questions or thoughts, and we'll see you guys in the next video.